The silent plathe crimson sky of Valthara stretched endlessly above the dying world, its twin suns casting long shadows across the crystalline ruins of what had once been the greatest empire in the Andromeda sector. Empress Zyphira stood alone, on the highest tower of her crumbling palace, her 6 arms trembling as she held the quantum transmitter that had become her only hope. For months, she had sent the same message across the galaxy. Her people, the Valthari, were dying from a plague that turned their crystalline bodies to dust. The Cosmic Council had received her pleas, but no response came. The Galactic Federation had marked her world as quarantined. Even her former allies, the Nexari Empire, had closed their borders to her ships. The Valthari had been conquerors once. Their crystal warriors had swept across star systems, their technology unmatched, their empire spanning hundreds of worlds. But that was before the plague, before her people began crumbling like ancient statues in the rain. Zyphira's reflection stared back at her from the polished floor. Her once brilliant purple skin had faded to a sickly gray, and cracks ran along her arms like fault lines. She was dying too, but slowly, cursed with the burden of watching her civilization collapse around her dot. The quantum transmitter crackled to life, and she spoke the words she had repeated countless times before. "This is Empress Zyphira of the Valthari Empire. We are not your enemies anymore. We are the dying. Please someone, anyone, help us." The message traveled through hyperspace, reaching the communication networks of 1,000 worlds. Most ignored it. Some laughed. Others simply deleted it without a second thought. The Valthari had made too many enemies in their time of power. But in the outer rim of the Milky Way, aboard a small human scout vessel called the Wanderer, Captain Marcus Stone heard something different in that transmission. He had been mapping uncharted systems when the message reached his ship's receivers. Unlike the others, he didn't hear the voice of a former conqueror begging for mercy. He heard desperation, genuine fear, and something else that made him pause. He heard hope. Marcus had lost his own family to a plague on Earth's colony world of New Haven. He knew the sound of someone watching everything they loved slip away. Against direct orders from Earth Command, he changed course toward the Valthari system. His ship's AI, Nova, questioned the decision. "Captain, our mission parameters do not include contact with hostile alien species. The Valthari are classified as enemies of humanity." Marcus stared at the star charts, watching the route to Valthara appear on his screen. "Sometimes, Nova, being human means doing what's right instead of what's ordered." The Wanderer's engines hummed as they entered hyperspace, carrying the first human toward a dying empire that had given up hope of salvation. First, Contact the Wanderer dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Valthari system, and Marcus immediately understood why the galaxy had abandoned this place. The once mighty fleet of crystal ships floated dead in space, their surfaces dull and cracked. Entire space stations had been reduced to glittering debris fields that caught the light of the twin suns. Valthara itself looked like a broken jewel. The planet's surface, once covered in magnificent crystal cities that could be seen from orbit, now showed vast empty spaces where entire metropolises had simply crumbled away. "Captain," NOVA's voice carried a note of concern. "I'm detecting massive structural failures across the planet. Whatever caused this destruction is still active." Marcus guided his ship through the debris field, following the beacon signal that had accompanied Empress Zyphira's message. The palace complex came into view, a towering structure of living crystal that seemed to grow from the planet's core. Even damaged, it was beautiful in a way that took his breath away. The docking bay was empty, except for a few maintenance drones that moved slowly, their energy cells nearly depleted. Marcus suited up and stepped onto the crystalline floor, his boots echoing in the vast space. The air was breathable, but thin, and he could feel the weakness of the planet's dying atmosphere He followed the beacon deeper into the palace, passing through halls lined with crystal murals that told the story of the Valthari Empire. Warriors in gleaming armor, vast fleets conquering stars, worlds bending to their will. But now those same walls showed cracks, and some murals had fallen to dust. In the throne room, he found her waiting. Empress Zephyra sat on a throne carved from a single massive crystal, but she looked nothing like the conquering ruler from the murals. Her 6 arms were folded in her lap, and her once proud bearing had given way to exhaustion. When she saw Marcus, her large eyes widened with something between fear and hope. "You came," she whispered, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "A human came." Marcus removed his helmet, showing his face. "I heard your message. All of them. I thought no one would answer. My people conquered human worlds once. We were not kind." Her voice carried the weight of guilt and regret. "That was then," Marcus said, stepping closer. "This is now. Tell me about the plague." Zephyra rose from her throne, moving slowly. "Began 5 years ago. Our scientists called it the crystal rot. It turns our bodies to dust, but slowly. We feel everything as we crumble away. It spread through our cities like wildfire, and nothing we tried could stop it." She led him to a balcony overlooking the dying city. "We sent envoys to every world, every empire. They all turned us away. A cosmic council said we deserved this fate for our past crimes. The Galactic Federation called it divine justice." Marcus looked out at the empty streets below. "How many are left?" "Perhaps 1 million, scattered across a dozen worlds. Once we numbered in the billions." She turned to face him. "Why did you come, human? What do you hope to gain from helping? A dying empire?" Marcus met her gaze. "Sometimes helping others is its own reward." The human solution. Marcus spent 3 days studying the crystal rot plague, working alongside the few remaining Valthari scientists in their underground laboratories. The plague was unlike anything in human medical databases, a quantum virus that attacked the crystalline structure of Valthari biology at the molecular level. Dr. Kellen, the eldest of the surviving scientists, worked tirelessly beside the human. His body showed advanced signs of the plague, with deep cracks running through his translucent skin, but his mind remained sharp. "We tried everything," he explained, his voice brittle. "Quantum stabilizers, molecular restructuring, even temporal reversal fields. Nothing worked." "That's because you've been thinking like crystal beings," Marcus said, studying the virus samples under a quantum microscope. "You're trying to fight crystalline decay with crystalline solutions." Empress Zephyra entered the laboratory, moving carefully. The plague had progressed in her as well, and Marcus could see new fractures spreading along her arms. "What do you mean?" Marcus pulled up a holographic display showing the virus structure. "Your people's strength has always been your crystalline nature. Perfect order, flawless structure, incredible durability. But this virus exploits that perfection. It finds the tiniest flaw and spreads along your crystal matrix. Then we are truly doomed," Dr. Kellen said, his shoulders sagging. "Not necessarily." Marcus manipulated the hologram, showing human cellular structure alongside Valthari crystal matrix. Humans are imperfect by nature. Our biology is messy, chaotic, full of redundancies and backup systems. That's why we're so hard to kill. He began outlining his theory. A virus couldn't adapt to chaos the way it adapted to order. If they could introduce controlled imperfections into the Valthari crystal structure, create biological noise that the virus couldn't decode, they might be able to stop its spread. "You're talking about fundamentally changing what we are," Zephyra said, her voice uncertain. "I'm talking about saving your people," Marcus replied. "The treatment would be temporary, lasting only long enough for your bodies to develop immunity. But it would require trust. Dr. Kellen leaned forward. What kind of trust? Marcus pulled up another display showing human immune system responses. I'd need to synthesize human antibodies and introduce them into your bloodstream. It would create a hybrid immune response, part human, part Valfari. Your people would need to accept human genetic material into their bodies. The laboratory fell silent. The Valfari had spent centuries considering themselves superior to other species, especially humans. The idea of accepting human genetic material was revolutionary. Our people would never agree, Dr. Kellen said finally. Then they'll die pure, Marcus said bluntly. Sometimes survival requires setting aside pride. Empress Zephyra studied the human for a long moment. You would give us part of yourself to save us? I would give whatever it takes. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them, there was determination there. Dr. Kellen, begin synthesizing. The treatment. I will be the first to receive it. My Empress, the risks are less than the certainty of death. She cut him off. If this human is willing to share his essence with us, then we must have the courage to accept it. Marcus began preparing the treatment, knowing that failure would mean not just the death of the Valfari, but the end of any chance for redemption between their species. As he worked, he could feel the weight of an entire civilization resting on his shoulders. The first hybrid treatment was ready within hours. As Empress Zephyra prepared to receive it, she looked at Marcus one final time. If this works, humanity will forever be part of the Valfari. Are you prepared for that responsibility? Marcus nodded. Are you prepared to trust us with your future? Without hesitation, she extended her arm. I am. The transformation, the treatment began at dawn. As Valfara's twin suns cast their light through the laboratory's crystal windows, Marcus monitored every vital sign as the hybrid serum flowed into Empress Zephyra's bloodstream through quantum injectors. The process was unlike anything he had ever witnessed. Her crystalline body began to change almost immediately. The rigid perfection of her crystal structure softened, becoming more flexible, more alive. The cracks that had been spreading through her skin began to fill with a new substance, neither fully crystal nor fully organic, but something between the two. The pain, she gasped, her 6 arms trembling. It's like being reborn. Dr. Kellen monitored the readings with growing amazement. The virus is retreating. The quantum disruption is working. It can't maintain coherence in the hybrid matrix. But the transformation was more than just medical. As the human genetic material integrated with her Valfari biology, Zephyra began to experience sensations she had never felt before. Emotions that had been muted by her crystal nature became intense and vibrant. She could feel Marcus's presence in a way that went beyond sight or sound. I can sense your thoughts, she whispered, looking at him with wonder. Your memories, your feelings about your lost family. Marcus felt it too, a connection that went deeper than anything he had experienced. The integration is creating a psychic link. I didn't expect this. Over the following days, word spread through the underground refuges where the surviving Valfari had hidden. Their empress had undergone the human treatment and lived. More than that, she was healing. The first volunteers came forward hesitantly. A group of young Valfari warriors, their bodies already showing signs of the plague, agreed to receive the treatment. Marcus worked tirelessly, adjusting the formula for different stages of the disease. Each successful treatment created new hybrid beings, Valfari in form, but carrying human genetic markers that made them resistant to the plague. They retained their crystalline beauty, but gained human resilience and adaptability. As news of the treatment spread, something unexpected happened. The Cosmic Council, which had ignored the Valfari's pleas for help, suddenly took notice. Delegation arrived in the system, led by Ambassador Thoric of the Nexari Empire. We demand to know what humans are doing in this quarantine zone, Thorak announced as his ship entered orbit. Marcus stood beside Empress Zyphira in the palace's communication center. The transformation had made her more radiant than ever. Her crystal skin now shot through with veins of organic matter that pulsed with life. "We are healing," she replied, her voice carrying new strength. "Something your mighty council could not do." "Impossible," Thorak scoffed. "The plague is incurable." "Our best scientists confirmed it." "Your best scientists gave up," Marcus interjected. "We found a solution because we were willing to try something your people considered impossible." The ambassador's image flickered on the screen. "What solution?" Zyphira stood taller, her hybrid nature now clearly visible. "We accepted help from those you consider inferior. We allowed human genetic material to merge with our own. We chose survival over pride." The implications rippled through the watching council. Members. The Valthari, once the most xenophobic race in the galaxy, had willingly hybridized with humans. It was unprecedented. "This is an abomination," Thorak declared. "You have corrupted yourselves." "We have saved ourselves," Zyphira replied calmly. "And in doing so, we have learned something valuable. True strength comes not from purity, but from the courage to accept help when it is offered." Marcus watched the exchange with growing understanding. This was about more than just curing a plague. It was about changing the fundamental relationships between species in the galaxy. As the council delegation departed in confusion and anger, Zyphira turned to Marcus. "They will not let this stand. The other empires will see what we have become as a threat to their way of thinking. Then we'll face that challenge together," Marcus said, feeling the psychic connection between them strengthen. "Human and Valthari, hybrid and pure, whatever comes next." The new alliance 6 months after the first treatment, Valthara had transformed into something unprecedented in galactic history. The hybrid Valthari had not only survived but thrived, their new biology proving more resilient than anyone had imagined. Cities that had crumbled to dust were being rebuilt with a new architectural style that combined crystalline beauty with organic adaptability. Marcus stood in the palace's new council chamber, watching as representatives from both species worked together to establish the first human-Valthari alliance. The room itself was a marvel of hybrid engineering, with living crystal walls that responded to the emotions of those within, shifting color and pattern to reflect the mood of the discussions. Empress Zyphira had become something truly unique, a being who embodied both species' strengths while transcending their limitations. Her transformation had stabilized into a form that was breathtakingly beautiful, her crystal skin now flowing with organic patterns that seemed to pulse with life itself. "The Cosmic Council has issued an ultimatum," she announced to the assembled delegates. "They consider our alliance a threat to galactic stability. They demand we cease all hybrid treatments and submit to their authority." Captain Reynolds, who had arrived from Earth with a small diplomatic fleet, shook his head. "Earth Command's response is simple. Any threat to the alliance is a threat to humanity. We stand with our Valthari partners." But the real test came when the Nexari Empire, backed by the Cosmic Council, arrived with a massive fleet. Ambassador Thorak's face appeared on the main screen, his expression cold and determined. "Empress Zyphira, you have violated the fundamental laws of species purity. We offer you one final chance to submit to purification protocols and abandon this abomination you have created." Zyphira stepped forward, her presence commanding despite her transformed state. "Ambassador Thorak, we have violated nothing except your prejudices. We have found a path to survival that does not require conquest or domination. We have learned to trust." "Trust?" Thorak laughed bitterly. "You have polluted yourselves with inferior genetic material. You are no longer Valthari." "You are correct," Zyphira replied. her voice carrying new harmonics that seemed to resonate with both human and Valthari frequencies. We are something new, something better. The moment of confrontation arrived as the Nexari fleet moved to attack positions. But instead of meeting them with force, Zephyra did something unprecedented. She opened a communication channel to every ship in the fleet, not through technology, but through the psychic network that had developed among the hybrid Valthari. "Listen to me," she broadcast, her mental voice reaching every consciousness. "In the fleet, I will show you what we have become." Through the psychic link, she shared the memories of the plague, the desperate years of watching her people die, the isolation and despair. But then she shared Marcus's arrival, the moment when one human chose compassion over orders, the hope that had bloomed from that single act of courage. She showed them the transformation, not as a corruption, but as a rebirth. The hybrid Valthari were not less than their pure ancestors. They were more. They had retained their crystalline beauty and strength while gaining human resilience and emotional depth. Most importantly, she showed them the peace that came from genuine cooperation between species, the joy of creating something together rather than conquering alone. The psychic broadcast affected every being in the fleet, from the lowest technician to Ambassador Thorak himself. For the first time, they experienced the world through hybrid consciousness, feeling the connection between human and Valthari that went beyond mere alliance. One by one, the ships of the Nexari fleet began to stand down. Several vessels broke formation entirely, their crews requesting permission to approach Valthara and learn more about the hybrid transformation. Ambassador, Thorak's image flickered with uncertainty. This is ... This is impossible. You cannot simply change the fundamental nature of galactic politics through feelings. We have not changed galactic politics, Zephyra replied gently. We have demonstrated that there is another way. The universe is vast enough for cooperation to coexist with competition, for hybrid species to thrive alongside pure ones. Marcus stepped beside her, their psychic connection visible to everyone as a subtle shimmer in the air between them. The choice is yours, Ambassador. You can continue fighting the future, or you can help us build it. As the standoff resolved peacefully, with several species requesting to establish diplomatic relations with the new alliance, Marcus realized that their story was just beginning. The hybrid Valthari had proven that evolution could happen through cooperation rather than conquest. In the months that followed, the human Valthari alliance became a beacon of hope for smaller species throughout the galaxy. Their success proved that strength came not from purity or domination, but from the courage to accept help and the wisdom to offer it in return. Empress Zephyra and Captain Marcus Stone had saved more than just the Valthari people. They had saved the idea that different species could not only coexist but thrive together, creating something greater than the sum of their parts. The galaxy would never be the same.